This is the University of Guyana's Turkine campus. It is one of several tertiary level educational institutions across Guyana. And by 2025, education here and at other tertiary level educational institutions should be free. This was a commitment made by the People's Progressive Party Civic government in its 2020 elections campaign. And since then, government officials, including President Dr. Irfaan Ali, have reiterated their commitment to making tertiary education free across Guyana. More recently, during a year-end interview with the newsroom, the president reiterated that commitment. But he also said, starting 2024, this year, the government will be pursuing a phased approach at making education free. According to him, the government will tackle students who are paying loans first.
It's going to be an approach that commences the implementation of free education. As you know, there are persons who are already on the register who are paying loans. So I think that that segment of the student population will have to be addressed first, and then we phase ourselves in.
Of course, to really understand this initiative and how it will impact students, it's important to hear from students themselves. That's why we're talking to the president of the University of Guyana Student Society, Shukwan Gill. Shukwan, really, how do you think such an initiative to have free UG, but first to deal with students paying loans, how might that help the student population?
Well, I've heard a lot from students over the last year or so about the significant complaints that they've had about facilities fees, the tuition in and of itself, and a number of other areas in which they're paying fees that they feel like they really shouldn't be paying for. And I think this initiative, particularly for those students who are working, may not be working the best jobs that's paying them the best amount of money, but to still have to find that money at the end of the month to pay their student loans, to have that forgiven, I can only imagine how much of an impact that will have. I know that a lot of students are excited for something like this to come into play. And we too we have been saying from the beginning of time that the University of Guyana and tertiary education is enshrined in our constitution for it to be free, and this is what we're hopeful for. And so to hear the president, make that statement earlier this week, and of course even since 2020, is something that we're extremely happy about.
Right. Of course, you are a representative of people who are already students. Do you believe that such a move is going to encourage more persons to attend the University of Guyana, but also tertiary education institutions across the country?
Of course. I think it's important to underscore the fact that free education is something that serves as an incentive for people to get education. But one of the things that we've always advocated for and will continue to advocate for, even upon the implementation of this policy, is to ensure that with this free education, the quality of education is not reduced. And I think that is something that has to be taken into consideration when this decision is made, because of course, although you want more people to get their education, you don't want the quality of education to drop, and then people feel as though they can't come to the University of Guyana for quality education, so they go elsewhere for it. And once that is in the entire conversation before it's implemented, I think it's going to be something that's going to be truly impactful.
Do you think that's happening?
I think that is happening. I've said from the beginning of my presidency that this is something that all of the students want. Of course, it has to be carefully looked at. We have been happy about this since it was a manifesto promise of both parties when it was elections in 2020. And so to hear about the plans continuing to roll out is exciting, but of course we'll believe it when we see it.
With the 2024 national budget slated to be presented in the coming weeks, it is expected that some measures to address how the government will make education free and will approach this phased approach at making education free will be announced. Reporting for the newsroom, Vishani Raghavir.